Welcome to Talk at Google in Singapore. We're live here, but there's people also dialing in from live stream. And today we're going to have Chef André Chiang from Restaurant André to be here with us. And Chef André's new book, Octaphilosophy, just released globally this week. So we're one of the first readers to get a copy. And he's also going to share a lot of the secrets from this book during this talk. And Chef André has been trained up by many of the world's top chefs. And he is also among the best chefs. And he was mainly learned his culinary skills in France, and he has brought the taste of South France back to Singapore in his Restaurant André in Chinatown. Yes, and Restaurant André has been one of the top 50 restaurants in the world and one of the top 3 in Asia. Before we start the talk, we're going to play that creative process from Restaurant André again, and just to for us to have a look at how he creates some of the famous dishes.
It's kind of a traditional fine dining sequence that after the main course, you gotta have a cheese course. When I first arrived in Singapore, I realized at the beginning, although you have the best French artisan cheese, not everybody appreciate it. Everyone enjoy every single course until the cheese. The cheese course seems like one of the courses that we cannot do anything. In respect of the French tradition sequence, we would like to keep it. But how can I inject something that really belongs to here? So I decided to do a look-alike cheese course. How to do that? We dehydrate the milk bavarois in the dry aging room. Exactly like cheese making. So we put it on the grill, so we have a nice ventilation, and it dries it slowly, and then we flip it on different side until it's like half dehydrated. It creates a crust over it. The inside is milky, like a camembert. We see ourselves as like an artisan because we're making our own cheese. We should serve something very farmer style. So we get the hay from France, really nice hay, have a lot of different herbs inside, and then we dry them and roast it, and then we make a hay ice cream to serve with the camembert. For those who doesn't appreciate the traditional artisan cheese, and they could have something that is similar. Very light, very refreshing, very sweet, and then totally unique. I spend most of my time in south of France, Mediterranean. I want to create that really very classic, or you can say Mediterranean on Spanish dish. You have a charcoal grilled squid with piquillos, the smoked pepper, olive oil. Very simple dish. When I was thinking the dish, what makes you remember? Is that the squid itself, or it's the combination of the squid and the piquillos, or what is it? It's that smokiness, it's that burning edge that makes the whole dish to life. Nothing can be replaced with that burning flavor from the charcoal. So what about if I want to have an ultimate dish that I just eat the charcoal? And that's where I start to really work on it. Then we make a fried charcoal dough. So we serve the burning charcoal with the fried charcoal dough, and then we serve a piquillos dip with charcoal squid. In fact, the squid or the piquillos in the dish, they were just accessory in a way. We designed that in the middle of the menu. So, you know, sometimes when you see a normal menu, you start it small and the portion gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger. For a long menu, sometimes halfway through you feel it's getting heavy, you know, you're getting tired. If halfway we can have a break or we can have something fun, that kind of lighten you up, you know, freshen up a little bit, and we restart again. Every night, we have the guests finish very late. Most of the time, they finish at 11, 11:30, 12, or even later sometimes. I just feel that I want to serve something like breakfast and then say, hey guys, you gotta go. You know, it's breakfast time. Kaya toast is the breakfast in Singapore. It's white toast, grilled white toast, and then you have kaya, which is a coconut and pandan. Then you have one slice of cold salted butter inside, and that's it. And that's kaya toast. Well, you know, at the end of the meal, you serve coffee, of course, and so if coffee served with the kaya toast, that's kind of an ending or a beginning, but yet I don't want to serve a kaya toast like anywhere else. I still want to keep my French background. I start to make the white toast look like macaron. We do exactly the same way. We grill it, make our own kaya, and then you must have one icy cold salted butter inside. If you eat it with your eye open, it's kind of macaron. Yeah, but if you eat it with your eye closed, and it's exactly the same kaya toast. All right. So I think it's on. Okay. Okay. Good afternoon, guys. So today I'm here to talk about Octaphilosophy and also why we're doing everything and what's behind or our thinking process. So the video that you saw just now, it's just a few dishes that why we do it. And I guess a lot of you already been to restaurants and you know what we do. Some of you don't know, but that doesn't matter. So today we're kind of go start from the beginning. As you can see, the Octaphilosophy. What is Octaphilosophy? Why the octagon is so important to us, and why everything come from. So to start with Octaphilosophy. Octaphilosophy is something that when I first started, before I started Restaurant André, so I arrived, my parents are Taiwanese, I was born in Taiwan, and I grew up in France. I arrived in Singapore 8 years ago. That's how everything started, and we want to have, come back to Asia and start up our own business. So I was thinking, okay, so how to tell people that this is André's cuisine. This is not Taiwanese cuisine, this is not French cuisine. This is something that belongs to me, and it collects everything everywhere I go, and it becomes my own style of cuisine. So I started to go back to look at everything that I create the past 20 years, and I realized I don't have anything fixed. You know, everywhere I go, I collect ideas. I get inspired by different things. I grew up in an artist family. My mom was a chef. My father is a Chinese calligrapher. My brother's an actor. My sister's a clothing designer. And I'm very into pottery and sculpture. So in a way that we were trained since we were little to appreciate each other's work, to appreciate the beautiful things in life in different form.
So that means a lot to me. And so I look at everything that I create the past 20 years and I realize these 8 elements that constantly repeating in my creation. So it means that it's just like, okay, our hairstyle, our makeup. If you look at your pictures 5 years or 10 years ago, you'll say, oh my God, I got a hairstyle like that, and my makeup is horrible. But that time you feel so good about it, yeah. So same thing for me, and I say that I constantly change my style or taste, but this one thing that never changed probably is my favorite color. Yeah, so that's the essence. And so when I look at everything that I create, these 8 elements constantly repeating in my creation. So I said, yeah. So how to tell people that this is André's cuisine? So these 8 elements become so important because no matter where I go, no matter what I create, when I create, these elements, 8 elements, always there. So that's André. Yeah. So we just try to give it a name and give it a reason, and so people can understand it easily. That this is Octaphilosophy. That's what we do. So when we first started, and I constantly asking myself a question all the time, is that are we moving forward or are we moving backwards? Oh, by the way, you guys can have a lunch and noodle and while eating. It was so cool. I like it here. Yeah. Where we're at? I should have one too, when I first started, I constantly asking myself questions. Are we moving forward or are we moving backwards with everything that we create? Yeah. So if you think about a dining experience, if you go to a casual restaurant, you sit down and you order and you eat. If you go to a fine dining restaurant, you sit down and then they're gonna ask you 15 questions before you reach your first course. Yeah, oh, you want to select this and select that, you want this, you want that. We have a 250 selection of teas and things. So, can I start? Okay, and then every dish, there was so many things in there, and then the menu is so beautifully written. So what is that the ultimate dining experience? Or we just forcing the guests to catch all that? Can we just keep everything simple and leave the space for imagination, not giving you the whole book and then you say, okay, you got to read through it. Can we leave the space for the imagination, for the creativity? So that's what I think, that if I just put this 8 words on my menu and I leave the rest to the guests to discover. Yeah. It's not empty, it just leave a room for you to put in your imagination or to fill in your answer to the question. You filled in the space of your dining experience, and only the dining experience that fits you is the ultimate dining experience. Yeah, so that's how I started Octaphilosophy. So this 8 element later we're gonna go through. Today I just took 8 pictures inside the book, so we can just go through it and I just show you what it is roughly. So we got this 8 elements. So how do I create every dish? So for me, the 8 elements, the 8 dish, it's like a movie. It's like movie you sit down for 2.5 hours for a movie, and it's exactly the same time for a dining experience. So I'm the director, and how am I gonna create this 2.5 hours that you feel is excited, that you have good guys, you have bad guys, and then the funny guy came out. So how do I prepare this script so that this 2.5 hours not bored. It's always upbeat. So 8 elements, they are all different character. So nothing is related to each other, and there's no particular sequence. Yeah. So you have good guy, you have bad guy, you have this 8 different character. How to create this 8 different character? In one of the pages of the book, you have the sketch. It's called octagon analysis. So what is octagon analysis? It's we look at every dish and then we give them a DNA. Okay. So I prepared something just real quick just now. So you have the 8 elements. Maybe you put it here. Okay. So I just drew an octagon, and this is what we do. We give a DNA for every single dish. Okay, you see originality, imagination, craft, taste, character, simplicity, emotion, and structure. Okay, so you will have a dish that focus on structure, or you have a certain dish that focus on, sometimes it's you have to eat it with hands, and it's more of an experience, or dish is inspired by my mom's salad, or this is a dish that focus on textures or artisan. So every dish, it comes from different source of inspiration. Yeah. So we identified every single dish with a DNA. Okay, so that octagon is the DNA for the dish. And so if we have 8 of them, to put them together, they should become a complete octagon. That means every dish that gives a different angle, or some dish that focus on structure, some focus on imagination. You see how it overlapped? Yeah? So I guess as a chef or an artist or any one of you, sometimes we never look at what we do. We thought that, okay, this is cool, this I create, and every single dish is perfect. But if you analyze it and you give every dish a DNA, you realize that they are all towards one side. They are all very structural, or they are all very emotional, but it's kind of lacking something. So some movie that is very consistent, the same pace, and in some movie you have different characters inside. You have a very good pace. Why? Because we have to look inside at what do we have, and why this is so important. Sometimes you have a dish come in, it's very visual, it's very detailed, and everything is so perfectly done. And next course can be so rustic that you open the husk of the corn and you just eat it with hands. And then the next course can be something else, and totally simple. So that's what I think. That's the ultimate dining experience, and everything is calculated, but that's only behind the kitchen door. We don't want to tell the guests everything that I told you just now. We want them to have these 8 words, and then they just sit down and they relax, and then realize why everything is so connected. So, yeah, it's a bit more than what a chef's supposed to do, and I don't know if you expect this, but anyway, I just continue. So we're gonna go into the Octaphilosophy, so the 8 elements, and that goes random. So one of the elements is unique. Okay, so you might not know what is this, but I'm sure everybody should know. This is the carrot heart. Okay, it's a heart of carrot. So if we cut a carrot lengthwise, and then you see that there's one thin yellow part inside, and that's carrot. This is the carrot heart. But we never know that carrot heart to look like this. So what is unique? There's no such a thing as unique. If you have a white sheep in a whole bunch of black sheep, the white sheep is unique. And the black sheep get into the bunch of white sheep is unique. And sometimes the uniqueness comes to the right place, the right time. It doesn't matter what it is. Yeah. So this picture in the book, I want to show you that a lot of things that we think we know, but we don't. Yeah. We always peel or cut the carrot like that, and we peeled it, with a peeler. But if you cook the carrot, the entire carrot by itself, and then you open it, you peel it like you peeled an orange skin, and you will see this. So change another way of thinking, and change a different way to process a food, and then you see it in a different way, and that's unique. So there's nothing really unique or not. It's just how you do it, and we get used to the way that we work all the time. Oh, this has to be like that. A carrot has to be like that. You have to cut it in a way, and you never see the beauty of a carrot heart. And now we use it, we cure it, and we just show it, and everybody said, "Wow, where'd you get this carrot?" And it's from the Tanjung Pagar market. So it's I mean it's brainless, but that's how I want to show that it's that's how we see things differently. Second, artisan. So artisan, it's an interesting element. This one day that I went to Japan and see my friend. He's a 3 Michelin star, one of the top restaurants in Tokyo, and it took me to see this farmer, this aubergine farmer. Like Japanese, they're very famous with the aubergines. So, and then he said, this guy is the best. Okay, you gotta get the vegetable from this guy. So I went to see this guy, and then, speechless. His produce is top notch. And I said, "Can I buy this?" And he said, "No." I said, "Then why are you selling it?" He said, "My aubergine can only be charcoal grilled and served with a pinch of salt." So he's telling me how to cook the aubergine. And I'm like, okay, so if I say yes, and then I come back and I cook it a different way, you will not know. Anyway, but one thing very important is that at the end I didn't manage to get the aubergine, because I think he see it in my eyes that this guy's not gonna cook the way that I asked him to. So he said no, and then I go back and say, okay, oh my God. One thing that strikes me is, as a chef, we never think about what the farmer thinks. They spend months. Maybe every day they go flip the vegetable, they give them water, and then they take care of it and say, okay, weather's not good, and then we give it covered with something to keep them warm. They take so much care of every produce, and they're so proud of it. And what we do is, today I'm gonna do a carrot a jelly, and I just buy the carrot and the best carrot I can get, and I just squeeze them into juice, and then I make a jelly. So everything's gone. All the work is gone, and we never thought about it as a chef because of an ego. Because we're so selfish, we think that I know how to handle it, but we never think in a perspective of an artisan, that they want to deliver. They're so proud of their produce, and then they want to make sure that it delivers all the way from the moment that it grows until the end, that it can be served perfectly. We never thought about it. We just think that we're good. We're good at what we do, and I'm going to take care of it. So that's given me an idea that every day and every menu that I serve, I want to have one dish that doesn't belong to me. I want to have one dish that dedicated to the artisan. So I want them to tell me how you want to cook it, how I can deliver the best out of it. If he say that I'm gonna grill it and then give it a pinch of salt, and that will be my foundation, I will see how I can deliver the way that he want to. Or if you say that just, just to slice them and dip it in a bit of vinegar and just eat it, or with hands or whatever. So can I just have one dish that doesn't belong to André in a menu that dedicated to the artisan? At least that's something that I can do. And not to forget all the hard work from the artisan. Yeah. So that's how I want to have one of the elements that dedicate to artisan. And so in this picture, you see the artisan's hand and it's holding something. It should be a carrot. It should be an orange. It should be an aubergine. But we cannot identify what it is already because it's been processed. So in this picture, I want to say that a lot of chefs we say, okay, we're natural. We use organic products. We try to preserve it as much as we can, and we cook it as light as we can. But are we really natural? Yeah. Are we really delivering what the farmer's message, or it just, just pretentiously natural? Yeah. So that's the picture. In fact, that is watermelon skin. So we cure the watermelon skin and it become one of the dish in the menu. So yeah, that's the elements of artisan. Next element, south. South is an interesting. It's an interesting element. It refers to south of France, because I spent most of my time in France. I arrived in south of France in Montpellier. That's where I spent 10 years of my time in south of France. So in south of France, what I learned is not only, we use a lot of seafood. We rarely use meat. Very light cooking, acidity, freshness, and people are generous. So that's what I learned. Not only how to cook, but how to live my life. Montpellier, what I live is just about 40 minutes to Mediterranean Sea. So that's where I spend my time learning about the culture. And you will see that the people from south of France, they never think about, okay, my chef never teach me or say, okay, this is what I do, this is what I like, or this is what I want you to do. He will tell me, this is south of France. This is how we eat in south of France. And this is when we have to eat it. This is how we eat it in south of France. This is how we cook it in south of France. Yeah, so it's not about him, it's about the whole southern French cuisine. So for this picture, it's the fish that we pitch. This one of the picture that you see in the book. Every ticket is when we bid in the Tsukiji market in Japan. So you have to bid the fish, and then after you got the fish, and you put your ticket on it. And it is a ticket of per André. So that's the 632. That's our fish. That's our ticket. So when we bid the fish, the best fish that we want, and we put the ticket on it. So that becomes yours. So we use a lot of seafood in south of France. These pictures, I just want to show that everybody asks me, oh, André, so is that French cuisine? Is that Japanese cuisine? Is that Taiwanese, Asian twist, or what? For me, it's really difficult for me to categorize what we do, what I do, but does that matter? For me, if you look at the fish, okay, we say we got our fish from from Japan, from Tsukiji market, and then we give them a ticket. But there is no border in the sea. They just happen to swim to Japan, and you pick it up, and that's the Japanese fish. Or there should be, pick it up in the Mediterranean Sea, and that's Mediterranean fish. That's French fish. Okay, so am I Taiwanese, French, Singaporean, what? Does that matter? For me, no. I don't know how to categorize the thing that I cook, but I want people to enjoy it, enjoy the experience. Doesn't matter where you come from, or yeah, south of France. Texture. For me, when you talk about textures, most of the time we talk about one produced in a different dimension, different process that focus on one dish. So in this case, this dish is a frozen white truffle disc. Yeah, and for me, what is texture? How to create a texture is when you look at a piece of a stone and then you say, oh, that's texture. But how do you feel the texture? Only when you have a contrast. Only when you have a smooth surface or you have a smooth hand and then you touch the stone, and then only when you have a contrast, you have texture. Yeah? Only have a very soft surface and you touch a very rough surface and then you feel the texture. Or hot and cold. Yeah. So how do you feel cold? Only when your temperature is warmer. So there's always a contrast. Yeah, so contrast is texture. Okay. And another meaning for me, texture, is time traveling. So we create how to create a texture is time. So maybe you leave it under the sun, the same produce, you leave it under the sun for 2 or 24 hours and that changed the texture. Or you leave it for 3 months, that changed the texture. You bake it in the oven for 10 minutes in 250 degrees, that changed the texture. So texture is time traveling. Yeah, it's about time. So this is the dish that you can see. It's a handcraft wooden bowl by an artisan. And on the top is ultra modern capsule. And then it's trying to capture that contrast and also the time traveling. Yeah. And inside you have the ultra modern frozen disc of a white truffle, and you have original truffle that's just right next to it. So for me, that contrast tells you what is texture about. Yeah. Pure. Yes. So this is one of the dish, and it's a finished dish. Yeah, it's supposed to be like that. So white on white. Obviously, that's pure white on white. So here we got 2 messages for you. First is that purely pretentious or pretentiously pure? Okay. Sometimes when we have image, we have something really, really simple. And we thought that, okay, yeah, that's pure, that's simplicity. Just like a beautiful white t-shirt, and you think that it's very pure, simple. But behind that white t-shirt that you bought, it might be a huge, gigantic, dirty factory behind it. So are we pure, or it's potentially pure for everything that we do? For me, pure is you leave the space, message to unfold. So it is a complete picture. It's not an empty space. For example, we do in our restaurant, we do this pure elements of dish. I was thinking that, nowadays we use everything with seasoning. We season everything. You need a pinch of salt, you need a dip, you need a dressing, a sauce, a puree. Everything needs a seasoning. And then we've been eating seasoning more than the produce itself. You know, even we think we're healthy when we're having salads, we're having carrot stick. Even the carrot stick, you need a dip. So are we eating the dip or are we eating the carrot itself? We can't even identify what is the flavor of carrot itself. We need something to go with. Yeah. But what is the complete, you know, so if you're having a carrot stick by itself, it doesn't mean that you're missing something. It's still a complete flavor. It just you know, our brain tells us we need something. If you look at this dish, you feel like do you need a sauce or you need something to go with why? It's a complete dish. It's a complete flavor. You don't need seasoning. So it's a reflection for us to think, you know, when we have a space and we need that space to live it as it is, and for us to put in our imagination, put in our creativity, to fill up the space. It's nothing missing here. So for me, that is that's a purity. That's a purity. So in our restaurant, we do have a dish that uses no seasoning, no just purely combination of the produce itself. No electric consumptions, no fire, no cooking. So this is one of the dish elements of salt. Okay, it's very interesting. Salvation, celery, salad. Salt is the key to life. Yeah. At the old time, we used salt to keep us away from demon. We used salt as currency to exchange. And we use salt to preserve food. Yeah, so salt is a beginning of everything. That's how important salt is. And turn black and white into color. The first seasoning that we know. So salt has been very important. For me, we're always thinking that can we have a flavor that everybody understands? You know, whether it's lemongrass or it's chili or it's curry, it's I don't know, a cheese. Somehow it's trapped in a certain boundary. But can we have one dish that everybody understands? So I was thinking salt. It's not just the physical salt, but a depth of saltiness. What I mean is, for example, soy sauce, fish sauce, ham, anchovy, and seawater or seaweed. Okay, they are all different depth of saltiness. So that means that if you have a piece of carrot, why I keep talking about carrots? Okay. Okay. Anyway, you have a piece of carrot. You use a different depth of, let's stop looking seasoning horizontally. Let's look at vertically. Okay, so different depth of saltiness. So if you season a carrot with the things that I just mentioned, different depth of saltiness, you put all these things to the carrot, you still taste the carrot itself, but the flavor change completely. Yeah, and I think that's the beauty of it, that you can still taste the produce itself, but in a different dimension. And I think it's really sexy that the people will understand the meaning of the depth. If you put these 5 ingredients, fish sauce, ham, or anchovy, seaweed, put them in one plate, you still taste its 5 different depths of saltiness. They won't against each other, and so that is my source of inspiration for the elements of salt. That we use no salt added. So that's a dish that we don't use the physical salt. Instead, we use different depth of saltiness to enhance the produce that we try to highlight. Okay, terroir. So terroir, it's about the land, the soil, the character from a particular space, time of produce. So in our restaurants, we have one dish that we try to portray the character of terroir, the soil, like the stone, the character, the nature. So we buried our meat inside the soil of bitterness. So we have coffee beans, cacao, and licorice, and you put a hot stone inside, and we cover it, and we bake it in the oven. So in the very old school pressure cooker. Yeah. Instead of cook every meat in a plastic bag. Nowadays, you see. So for me, that is try to reflect that the question that I said at the beginning. One day I was just debating with my team, and I said, are we moving forward or moving backwards? Nowadays we cook the meat in a plastic bag, and then we say that is super cool. But are we giving any flavor to the meat itself, or it just, if you look at the old time, how the people cook the meat, the charcoal grill it, and then they cook it in the pastry, they cook it in the dough of bread, they cook it in the soft crust. It gives so much flavor. Even just frying in the frying pan with burnt butter, garlic, and rosemary, it gives so much flavor to the meat itself. And nowadays we just cook it like that. So are we really moving forward? Sometimes we just never look closely at the things that we do, and then we think that are we moving forward or backwards. It doesn't give any flavor to the meat itself. So terroir is a dish that I always want to go back to the original place that where we are, where the flavor belongs to. Then memory. So this is a very famous dish in our restaurant. So one day, one of the guests asked me, André, I was, every night when after serve the main course, and I go to see the guests on the table and they say how are they doing. One of the guests one day asked me, so André, what's your childhood memory of sweets? And I stood there for 10 seconds and I said, nothing. Nothing. I couldn't think of anything that I like. Oh my God, I have no childhood memory. It's horrible. I couldn't think of anything that I like. And that kind of stuck on my chest for a very, very long time. And so one day I was with my wife and we were watching TV, and I said, hey, there's one thing that I really like is the raw cake dough. I don't like cake. I don't like pancake or a ganache or a cupcake or anything. I'm a very savory person. So even sometimes my dessert is savory. Like we use a green pea, or we use beetroot, celery. Yeah, I'm a very savory person. So I say, yeah, every time a family member when they prepare the cake, and they always like the last bit of the raw cake dough, and that's my favorite part. And I don't want the final result. So I say, yeah, so that's my childhood memory, okay? So I'm gonna tell people that that's my childhood memory. So I will prepare, I wanna do a raw cake batter preparation just like that. By the way, that's the final product. That's what we serve on the table, seriously. This is not just an image, this is how we serve in Restaurant André. And you have it like that. So I want people to just put the egg, they put milk, and then you have a butter, flour, and you mix everything together and then eat it. Yes, I'm very serious. Yeah, so it's called a DIY cake. So that's what we serve. So I said, so that I can tell people that's the process, that's the thing that I like in my childhood memory. So I went back and then I did the cake batter, a real cake batter, and then I tried to catch my childhood memory, my favorite part of my memory when I was a kid. And I tried the raw cake dough. I said, it doesn't taste good at all. It tastes horrible. But why I catch that memory as my childhood memory? Is that because of the raw cake dough? Maybe not. Yeah, is that the favorite taste that I like? No. But what that's something that stuck on my mind, and it's something that I remember, is that's the moment when my family gets together, and then they will prepare the cake, and then I'll wait there until they finish, and until the last bit, and I'll stir the bowls, and then I eat it. And so what is memory? Sometimes it might not be the best thing in the world, but that's something that's stuck on your memory. And every time you think about it, that's the sweetest part. That's the best part of the meal. So that's why we decide to keep this a dessert. Of course, everything is well prepared. You're not gonna have a raw egg with the milk and cook the thing on the table. But yeah, that's what we do in our restaurants. One of a very popular dessert in our restaurant. So I guess that's about the Octaphilosophy. So at the end, and I want to say, this is what we do, and I hope that you all find your 8 elements that means a lot to you, or maybe not 8, 12, 16, anything. But most important is we don't travel and look for ideas. We don't look at what other people do to look for ideas. The idea is in you, and it's in everything that you do. And find the essence. It can be 8, it can be 6, it can be maybe your idea came from oh my God, I go out and have a smoke and that's your Octaphilosophy. Or find your 8 elements that means a lot to you, and the rest of the thing will just come naturally. So discover your own Octaphilosophy, and I hope you enjoyed the book. Thank you very much.
Maybe 1 or 2 Q&A, and then afterwards, if you got the book, Chef André will be here for signing the book. Yeah.
Yes. You have a question?
Please use the mic.
So I've been to your restaurant many times.
Yes.
I celebrate most of my beautiful moment at your restaurant. So when you talk about your dish of I think time traveling is the foie gras dish that you make over 15 years every day.
Yes.
And I saw the uniqueness in your experience with the black sheep, I think the decor in your restaurant, and Philippe Stark, the big mirror on your 3rd floor. And I also, I know your wife as well. I know
Okay.
I've been to your restaurant many times.
Yes.
Yes. I try to understand how you build a brand. Are you going to continue to stay unique? Or are you going to be another Joe Bouchon or Daniel Boulud? Are you going to franchise your restaurant?
Oh, okay. That's a very good question. Definitely not. There's only one André, and this André got to be an André, right? So it's hard to. Personally, I'm someone that very, very against a cut and paste. So although we have along the way in my career, I come across so many great talent, so many great chefs. That just like when I first started, and no one know who André is, but you have someone, a good friend, and say that André, you're really talented. You should have your own restaurant, and I'll lend you money, and you open your own restaurant. When you have money, you return it back to me. That's how I started. Along the way, I met so many great talents, so many great chefs that I think that they shouldn't just work for me and under André. So I want them to open their own restaurants, and they have their own brand. Has nothing to do with André. So for us, we started 6 years ago, and we have Restaurant André, and now we have in total 3 other restaurants in Singapore, 1 in Paris, 1 in Taipei, but none of them are under the name of André, and my card doesn't have all the 6 restaurants' names. You don't find it on the website. None of the restaurants serve the same dish, the same crockery, the same design, the same pricing. Everything is completely different, and I think that's something very important for us. Is every restaurant needs to have their own DNA, their own concept, and it's always the chef is in front. For me, I'm just a supporter, and I think they should do their own thing, and they should be the man of their own concept. That's the least thing I can do, is to support this great talent. So there will be only one André, and you won't see André Sydney, André the Istanbul. Thank you.
Any other question? I'm going to pass the mic.
Hi, my name is Lionel. Thank you for sharing with us. I've been in your restaurant once, not as many times as him, and I really like the way that you think, and just from hearing you share on this, I can see the passion that you have, right? I'm curious on your journey. How did you know from the start, or did you know from the start that you wanted to be a chef, and how did you know this was your calling, right? Tell us a little bit more about that journey.
Okay, so as you know that I grew up in an artist family, so I didn't know that I would become a chef. I want to be a potter. I want to be a potter, I want to do sculpture, and that's what I liked when I was little. So my brother and my sister, they are much, like 7 years apart from me, so they're much older than I do. So they already found what they want to do. And so my mom was running a restaurant in Japan, a Chinese restaurant. And so she was like, that's the last kids that probably take over, my business. I better try to guide him somehow and make sure that he doesn't go the other direction. So that's how I thought that, okay, I'll be the one to take over my mom's business. And I kind of like cooking. So I left Taiwan when I was 13, and I stayed 2 years with my mom, and then I learned the things from her, and then so I can, eventually take over the restaurant. So after 2 years, I decided to learn something different. I said, okay, I'm gonna learn French cuisine. So in fact, I don't know. I don't have an idea that okay, I want to be the best chef in the world. I want to do French cuisine, or I don't have an idea. I just I want to take over my mom's restaurant, and I better learn something, not only from her but from the best of the best. So I can bring back a different idea, try to help my mom and change the concept and how to be better. Once I arrived in France, it's completely different. It's totally opposite of what I learned from my mom. Because, first, that's my mom. Second, it's a Chinese restaurant. So she teach you how to make things crispy, how to make it, how to make the skin shiny, and how to make crispy, hot. And so it's very, very technical, very technical. And second thing is, she said, okay, André, don't try to be creative, don't try to be funny. You just do the thing that I ask you to do. And this is the recipe. Okay, so I don't want you to change anything. I want you to continue. I don't want you to change anything. And I went to France, and it's totally opposite way. My chef asked me, so what do you think? What do you think? You like it? You don't? Why? And when you receive the vegetables and you smell it, and they said, you know, tomorrow I take you to see the farmer. And you see the farmer, you say, okay, this is the Uncle Gilbert, and then this is his vegetable, and then, you know, he's lived with his 2 daughters, and it's so emotional. Everything is so emotional. So when you create a dish, you think about Uncle Gilbert and his 2 daughters. And, you know, so it's very different. It's very, very different. So I said, well, you know, that's how I delve into all the process, the creative process of French cooking. And the culture, the history, everything is connected. So I told my mom, I said, you know, that's something I want to do. That's really, you know, I feel so free. I feel I can tell people what I think, and I can put my imagination in the dish, and it's so connected to everything. So my mom said, okay, you know, just you like it and just continue. And so that's how I just continue my path of French cuisine, and I just stayed there for 17 years. So I never really, I never really planned like 5 years, 10 years down the road what am I going to do. Yeah, so I'm still doing what I do, and right now, I never think of doing other things, and I think I like it. I think everybody has one thing that he does better than other people, and I guess for me it's cooking. So I want to continue and do what I do and share my idea. At least, you know, sometimes I feel I think differently, so I need my team to balance me out. So yeah, so thank you. Okay, so another one.
Is your mom's restaurant still running?
No, because they're looking for a head chef. No, my mom retired. Once she knows that, you know, the son is not coming back to take over the restaurants, and then so she said, you know, and I said, you know, 3 of us, me, my brother, and my sister, they're all good at what they do. So my mom can retire. There's no need to. Yeah, so and then she said, okay, then I just retired, and she left. She was here for my launch yesterday, and then she went back to Taipei this morning before I come here. So, yeah. Okay.
One last question, please.
Thank you, André. And I've been to your restaurant before, and you know it's fantastic. So today is the highlight of my day. And my question is really around your creative process. You know, I mean, your food is amazingly creative. You know, have there been times where you were stuck in that creative process, and what do you do to get out of that rut?
Okay. Just a quick story. You know, when this one day, it's a couple of years back. I think it's the 2nd year that the Restaurant André opened. So one day that we have the guests arrive, and the restaurant is packed, and more than half of the restaurant is all repeated guests. So all the repeated guests, I always want them to try a few new dishes or different things. And so I started to do it and say, oh my God, like everybody's repeated guests in this room. So I say, okay. The kitchen is running like crazy, and everybody's running around. And I said, stop. We're gonna change the entire menu tonight. And everybody's like, what? You know, because we are in the middle of the service, and everybody's running. I said, we're gonna change the entire menu because, you know, we have to. And everybody stop for 5 seconds. Okay, and then they run the other way. Yeah, so that's the moment that, you know, before I always think that I can do everything, you know, I can create and I can execute everything the way I want it, and I can do it 100%. But that was the moment that I suddenly realized that with my team, we can reach 120%. It's something that I cannot do with their support. I can have thousands of ideas, but I needed good execution. And that's how fast that they can come in and say, okay, you know, chef, later I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna do that, and later, okay, you want the duck dish, okay, then we can do this, we can do that, and that's when we put everything together. And I feel so powerful. The moment that I feel so powerful is when I'm in the kitchen, because I have my whole team with me, and then they're more critical than I do. You know, I say, chef, no, I don't like it. You know, let's do this. They have been more critical than I do. They give me a lot of pressure. That's how I enjoyed it. So yeah, for me, it's really the teamwork. I work a lot with my team. We sit down, we talk about it. We talk about different ideas. So it's not just Andre. We have a good team that support every idea that I do. You know, we're not the hierarchy. We're not the one-man show and say, I want this and get it done. No, we discuss and they give us. And we in our kitchen we have one small whiteboard. It's probably this size. Yeah. And everybody can write a unique combination of flavors or anything on it. So we pass by that whiteboard maybe 300 times a day. So every time you walk by, you say someone wrote duck egg, vanilla, and lobster. So you're like, whoa, what is that? You know, it makes you think. Is that a dessert? Is that a dish? So I think maybe it's an appetizer, and he might think it's a main course. So, and everybody can write the ideas that they have, or just 3 components, not detail, on the whiteboard. And so that's how we get all the ideas. So we pass by the whiteboard every day. And that's also one in the book. There's one picture of the whiteboard, very dirty whiteboard, and we all put our idea on it. And we pass by every day, and that's where I get our inspiration from.